is everyone?
Hey Lauren, how's it going?
Hey Emmy, I'm just wondering where everyone is.
Hey, I'm gonna make something super disgusting for you guys.
Carter, you do know we have to eat it, right?
If it's anything weird looking, it's a no for me.
Please just don't put anything poisonous or toxic in it. As your stage manager, I really can't condone that.
Hey y'all! I really hope we can get this all in one take. Being a broke college student, I cannot afford to keep buying the same ingredients over and over again. Also, my roommates are getting pretty sick of eating meatballs.
Don't worry, Annalese. I'm sure we'll get through it all in one take.
Yeah, as long as no one fucks it up.
Oh, hey Valerie, I didn't even see you were here.
Lauren, how could you not know someone's here with that whole setup going on?
He's probably just busy doing some stage managing stuff.
Hey guys, sorry I'm late. I was getting some last-minute details from my mom about the bread story. Turns out I was kind of mistaken about some key plot points.
Allison, you just finished your monologue? You do know we're filming today, right?
I got it done, that's what counts.
Are we just missing our director now?
And Ellie.
Great, we're missing our director and a senior.
And Mac, where is he?
Oh, he's here, he just doesn't have his camera on.
How did he get out of doing a monologue? Mine is so long.
Sorry, I had to make the pie crust. It went bad.
Welcome, Director Isabelle.
I thought we were supposed to be cooking live.
That egg may never come off my ceiling. Thanks, Isabelle.
Well, some people had to do some pre-cooking. You know, we are trying to keep this around an hour.
Hey, bitches.
Ellie, it's noon on a Sunday. Shouldn't you wait for the toast to drink?
What is time?
Okay, is everyone ready? Do you all have your ingredients and second devices set up? Do you all have transportation to GSC when you finish cooking? No emojis during the performance.
I can't wait to see you guys in person.
Me too.
All right, everyone. Places.
Break a leg.
Break a leg, guys.
Ready?
Set.
Welcome to Flavortown.
When you hung that sign by the entrance that said, "Welcome to Flavortown," were you just messing with our heads?
'Cause that's my business.
This squid is so raw, I can still hear it telling SpongeBob to off.
You have been chopped.
You can't arrest me, I'm the cake boss.
What are you?
An idiot sandwich?
This is raw!
You have arrived at the chopping block.
Welcome to Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives.
If you can't handle the heat, get out of the kitchen.
I do not have to agree with you, like you, or respect you.
You will never be a sweet genius.
Please, pack up your knives and go.
It's Saturday morning. I'm 8 years old. I wake up to the scent of pancakes wafting up the stairs, inviting my sisters and I to the kitchen. It's like this every weekend, my dad making his famous pancakes. This is a tradition that we all love in my house because we get to wake up to delicious pancakes. This week, they're chocolate chip. Except for a few plain ones for Emily, who hates chocolate chips in her pancakes for some reason. Last week, they were blueberry, which is one of my personal favorites. Sometimes my dad mashes up bananas and adds them into the batter. Whenever he does this, I like to spread peanut butter on the top. But this week, they're chocolate chip. We sit around the table and eat them together, telling stories of our dreams from the night before and discussing what we want to do for the rest of the weekend. Another Saturday morning, around a year later. I'm 9 years old now. This Saturday, I happened to wake up a little earlier than usual, and my dad was just starting to pull out the pancake ingredients. I ask if I can help and drag a chair from the kitchen table over to the counter so that I can reach. I watch as my dad combines the ingredients together, and he even lets me pour in the water and crack the egg. I mix the batter up a little until my arm gets too tired, and he takes over. Then came the exciting part. He turns on the electric griddle, and once it is warm enough, he pours the batter to make the pancakes. When the batter starts to rise up, he flips them over. Perfect golden brown. Next weekend, I did the same thing. And the weekend after that. And the weekend after that. Then, one Saturday morning, Dad told me I could try flipping one of the pancakes. This was the moment I'd been waiting for. I take the spatula and slide it under the half-cooked pancake. I turn my wrist and pull the spatula away as the pancake flips over and splatters everywhere. I blush, upset that I just ruined the pancake, and turn back to face my dad, who is laughing at me. "It's okay," he says. "Here, let's do the next one together." He puts his hand on top of mine around the spatula and guides my hand as we flip the pancake. No splatters. We do this with the last 4 pancakes on the griddle, turning our hands together as the pancakes flip. After weeks and weeks and weeks, it finally came time for me to make the pancakes on my own. My dad was sitting on the couch with his cup of coffee, ready to answer any questions I had, and keep me from burning the house down. But I was going to do it all by myself. I got all of the ingredients out and put them on the counter. I dragged over a chair so I could reach, but I was still too short to reach the griddle, which we kept on top of the fridge. I called for my dad's help, and after that, I was all on my own. I measured and mixed and poured and flipped, and when I was done, there was pancake mix all over the counter, and in my hair, and on the floor. But there was a stack of steaming pancakes on a plate ready for everyone to eat. And I did it all by myself. Eventually, I got tired of the box mix and wanted something new. I tried as many recipes as I could find online until I found one that I liked, called Good Old-Fashioned Pancakes. This was the recipe that I started repeating. It's pretty simple. Flour, baking powder, salt, sugar, milk, eggs, and butter. I wrote this recipe down on a scrap piece of paper with all the correct measurements and stuck it to the front of the fridge, where it remains to this day. When my sisters found out about the recipe name, they made up a little jingle about good old-fashioned pancakes. They began skipping around the kitchen singing it as I laughed and yelled at them to get out of my way so I could finish cooking. It's been years since they made up this little song, but I still sing it in my head whenever I make pancakes. Every single time. My sisters love making suggestions for what I should put inside the pancakes. One week, we put both chocolate chips and butterscotch chips in, which was a success. So was strawberries and M&Ms. We took something we loved and mixed it with pancakes. 2 delicious things. Good idea, right? Wrong. Pouring a smoothie into the pancake batter? Not good. Gummy bears? Only a group of children under the age of 10 would think putting gummy bears in pancakes would be a good idea. One morning, we put popcorn into the pancake batter. Yes, popcorn. And it was disgusting. That morning, we decided to have something else for breakfast. A few years later, and I started getting the hang of the whole pancake making thing. Gone were the days of popcorn and gummy bears, and now I was learning to make pancakes in different shapes. On St. Patrick's Day, I dyed the batter green and made them in the shape of shamrocks. On the 4th of July, I made them large rectangles and topped them with stripes of strawberries and whipped cream to resemble the American flag. Pancake making had become my thing. Whenever anyone in my family wanted pancakes, they would ask me to make them. My sisters claim this is because they taste better when I make them, but I think it's just because they're lazy. But I'm happy to make them regardless. It is my thing, after all. I've been making pancakes for over 10 years, but I still definitely make mistakes. Example, the summer before I leave for college. My younger cousins are over, and I'm making pancakes for everyone. The recipe calls for butter, but we're all out. Well, that's fine. I'll use olive oil instead. That's a fine substitute for butter. As it turns out, olive oil is a fine substitute for butter when it isn't garlic flavored. Garlic pancakes? Ugh, I'm never gonna live that one down. Now, I don't make pancakes as much anymore. I make them for special events like holidays, or when I make breakfast for my boyfriend and I, or when I'm visiting home and from the couch I hear my dad say, "Hey Lauren, wanna make me some pancakes?" Of course, Dad. You know I always do. And when I pull out the ingredients, the same song always pops into my head. Good old-fashioned pancakes, that's what I really need. Good old-fashioned pancakes, that's what I want to eat. Good old-fashioned pancakes, that's what I really need. Good old-fashioned pancakes, that's what I want to eat. Good old-fashioned pancakes, that's what I really need. Good old-fashioned pancakes, that's what I want to eat.
On my dad's side of the family, I have almost 50 first cousins, and we are all extremely close. My dad was the second youngest of 6, and they each had plenty of kids themselves. We'd always take a big family vacation out to the middle of nowhere with them too. That was crazy. Holidays also get a little wild with this many people, but it's always a good time. When I was younger, my gaga would host a donut making day every month. It was very exclusive, and you had to have VIP access to go. Only the cousins, absolutely no adults. My family was the only one not to live in the same neighborhood as my grandparents, so we would all make the 30-minute drive. Since David was the oldest, he always thought he was too cool, but he secretly wanted to be there. Peter's the crazy one in our family, and he's the middle child, which makes it even worse, but he secretly wanted to be involved. I always loved to cook, so I would be the first to tell my mom I wanted to be there. So David, Peter, and I would hold hands and walk through the door together. My gaga would give us all a huge hug and make jokes about how big we'd all gotten since the last time we saw her, which was last month. My gaga had a particular smell. It was warm and like a nice cup of coffee on a cool evening. My papa would walk in and start telling us about how he can play chess and how he can beat us, even though he is legally blind. My papa had been blind since he was born, and he consistently makes jokes and tells us stories about his crazy blind adventures. Like how when he was 15 years old, he got a job as a lifeguard at a local pool. And when the boss found out, he fired my papa after 15 minutes of sitting in the lifeguard chair. We would always laugh, and he would give us all a little chuckle about it. And to this day, I don't really know if that story's real or not. Aunt Jenny would be there too, because she still lives with them. And she would tell us how we're being too loud and too rowdy. I would walk over to my cousin Katie, and we would start playing with our Barbies and singing the songs from the movies. You know, I'm just like you, you're just like me, na 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 na. We all had our own separate groups that we hung out in. The older cousins, then the 10 to 12-year-olds, that's where I am, then the 6 to 7-year-olds, and so on. And that's how it seemed to be. And it was really peaceful, just making donuts with Gaga and hanging out in our separate groups and eating the donuts afterwards. I always like to put on so much powdered sugar, it looked like snow. There's this one time I distinctly remember I walked into the kitchen. My Gaga had sent me on a mission to turn on the blender with the batter in it. However, she never told me to put the lid on. So I turned the blender on, and as it began to mix, it brought me back to being at the state fair. I'm on a ride being swirled in circles consistently until my stomach drops. I get off the ride and I fall to the ground laughing because I can't walk straight. Next, I go and get a funnel cake, and I make it snow with the powdered sugar. If the blender was that ride, I was the batter as it was thrown and spun about. The batter covered the whole kitchen like a new coat of paint. Instead of the usual rustic brown, a bright yellow clung to the walls, windows, and floor. And it covered me too, head to toe. I laughed and snorted when my Gaga came in and saw what had happened. "You're a troublemaker, aren't you?" she said as she picked me up and cleaned me off. I've always known I was my Gaga's favorite. It wasn't a secret. While everyone else got the same pair of pajamas for Christmas, I would get a different pair than everyone else. And a $20 bill hidden in one of the pockets of the pants. I've always known I was the favorite. which is probably why she didn't get mad at me when I turned her kitchen into a giant sloppy mess. We laughed, and all the cousins came in laughing when they saw it. We all cleaned the kitchen together, taking off the new paint to go back to the original brown of the walls. Then we recreated the batter that I had destroyed, and we put the lid on the blender together. My Gaga got the deep fryer out, and we began to make the donuts together, watching my Gaga put all the oil in and make the donuts. Then she got the powdered sugar out, once again giving me the power to make it snow. My mom came to pick us up, and of course, David was the first to blurt out what had happened. She looked a bit upset, and she tried to apologize to my Gaga about it, though she just laughed and shrugged it off. Are you kidding? She's the most fun one of the bunch. She shouldn't lose that about herself, she said, looking at me and sneaking in a wink. We hugged Gaga, giving her a kiss on the cheek. Then I went over and hugged my papa. He looked at me and said, next time you come over, we're playing chess, and I'm winning. I nodded and agreed with him, giving him a kiss on the cheek. Then David, Peter, my mom, and I loaded up in the car and began to make the 30-minute drive back to Walton. Overall, I know I'm definitely still the favorite of the family and the most fun one of the bunch. And this Christmas, whatever it may be, we'll be definitely talking about the donut blender tornado, just like we always do. Ah, shit!
Oh my god, are you okay? Okay, 1 second.
Oh my god, a lot of blood everywhere. Oh my god, that hurts.
Okay,
Washcloths? Is that helpful?
okay, I have to go put this in the report. Carter, can you take over?
Yeah.
Oh my god, you know what? I gotta go.
I'm a picky eater. I mean, ever since I was little, I refused to eat anything that wasn't plain white. I would occasionally eat things that were poop brown or anemic pale or sometimes even yellow, but basically all these shitty foods are on the beige food spectrum. My diet consisted of all things bland, such as rice, milk, chicken, potatoes, and fish sticks. About those fish sticks. My parents started feeding me them around 6 months old, and I loved those shitters. By the way, my family would never use the word shitters. Anyways, we would go through a whole box of fish sticks every week. But when my parents took me to my 1-year checkup, the doctor was all like, you can start giving him fish sticks now. Oopsies. Apparently, you aren't supposed to give kids fish sticks until the age of 1 because of something to do with them being processed and something to do with the salt. I don't know, but clearly it didn't kill me. And neither did being extremely picky, I guess, because my parents let me keep eating all the boring food I wanted, making special meals for me when they would want to eat something else. Along with being picky, I was generally a very cautious kid. I followed the rules and I was quiet. My mom used to dress me up in chunky sweater vests and the most uncomfortable khakis, all the preppy little outfits. I was such a quiet kid. But eventually I got my own voice. But being a picky eater, this was not as easy to grow out of. Eventually, I just accepted the fact that I'm picky and let it become who I am. It would be my response to offers to try new things. Like, saying I was a picky eater literally stopped people from forcing me to eat their bloody cow meat, uncooked slimy fish, or ribs ripped straight from an animal's body. Did I turn you off of meat yet? But basically, I decided being a picky eater wasn't quirky enough, so I became a vegetarian at a Chick-fil-A off a highway, somewhere in the middle of Tennessee. I was on a mission trip with my friends, one of those mission trips where we help serve people and learn about God, but we also did fun stuff on the trip. I really did take the trip to heart. We helped many different families by delivering meals, tending to gardens, and giving out water to people on the streets. One of the people we delivered meals to was this old woman, and she just needed us to help. When we got to her house, we helped her clean her house because of her handicap. She would give us tasks to do that she couldn't do. Her name was Elsa. I can't believe I remembered that. She told us that she had a secret that we couldn't tell anyone, but she needed our help to clean something. The adults in the room found this super sketchy, and they were like, what is it that you want us to clean? And Elsa revealed that she had stowaway chickens, and they're illegal in Knoxville, I guess. But she needed help cleaning the cages. So we cleaned the cages and we played with the chicks and the chickens. They were so cute. On our way out the door, we said a prayer with Elsa before we left. One person was like, let's have a student lead the prayer, and no one volunteered. Someone was like, Lutherans always never know how to pray. People always say Lutherans never know how to pray, so someone just go for it. Carter, how about you? And so I led the prayer or whatever, and we said bye to Elsa. On our way home back to Kentucky, my friend Ben decided to break his 3-year vegetarianism that day in Chick-fil-A. Now, I had not eaten meat all week because the church we stayed in never served meat the way I liked it, or it was all beef, or it was something I'd never heard of. Plus, we had just met these cute chickens, and the thought of eating one was so sad and disgusting. I was all like, I can be a vegetarian. So I threw that shit out into the universe. After my friend Ben broke his vegetarianism, I pitched, maybe I should be a vegetarian. Maybe where one vegetarian ends, another begins. And to that, my friend said, do it. And I did it. Why would I make such a big decision on a whim? I'm impressionable, I guess. I mean, I basically just adapted and stuck to the rest of my regular eating of potatoes and rice. This was not healthy for me. I went on to become that annoying, chubby, short kid that hasn't grown a couple inches in a few years. You know the one. I think this is why I'm currently shorter than my little brother. And I'm starting to think that it's a little too late for me to catch up. But one day, my friend Grant asked me why I'm still vegetarian. And I didn't really have a good answer. I mean, I mostly just stuck with the whimsical decision that I had made a couple years ago. He asked me if I wanted to go to Chick-fil-A and get some chicken later. I said, why not? And so we went and I ordered, sat down, and I took a bite, and it was great. It's true what they say. Vegetarians are born and die in Chick-fil-A. The irony is that Chick-fil-A hates the gays, and yet this gay has made one too many big life decisions in Chick-fil-A. And maybe my stomach wasn't very happy with me later that evening, but after that, things just kind of changed. Because I finally broke my unhealthy eating cycle, I was finally able to start to change other things. I started to work out every day and started to become more mindful of what I ate. I didn't necessarily eat right, but I was getting protein in my body, and my body and my mind were starting to finally feel healthier. But I wasn't taking as many risks as I could be. Then I left for college. I was surrounded by new people who didn't know my food history, but they challenged me to try things their way, to be friends their way, to be alive their way, and to eat food their way. My friends have all challenged me to try new foods, from deep fried sushi to black bean burgers. I became so adventurous with my food. And yeah, maybe I still haven't eaten a hamburger, but now I have a colorful plate of food. When people ask me now if I've tried a food or not, the answer isn't always, I haven't tried it. It's, yes, I like pickles on my sandwich, or no, I don't like mayo. Chicken? Yes. Chick-fil-A? No. Fish sticks? Yes, I fucking tried them. And guess what? I don't like those shitters anymore because I'm still a picky eater.
job, guys.
Yes.
Family gatherings around the holidays means milk and cookies, gingerbread, or a family feast shared by all, for most families. These foods usually correlate with traditions or sitting and giving gifts while being by a toasty fire. These traditions are sweet, but I've never really been able to relate. For me, the food that makes me think of Christmas Eve are my grandpa's famous Swedish meatballs and his Manhattans. And let's get this straight. By Swedish meatballs, I mean a bag of frozen meatballs and 2 cans of the Gordon Food Service canned Swedish meatball sauce thrown into a crock pot. Not necessarily some fancy recipe passed down through generations. And by Manhattans, I pretty much mean a brim-filled glass of whiskey with maybe a little orange and a splash of vermouth. But the reason that these foods are so special to me is because these meatballs and Manhattans have been served by my sweet grandpa at our Christmas Eve parties for over 50 years. Thomas Cahill, my paternal grandfather, met my grandmother, Claire Arling, doing a Xavier theater production. The two have been married for 57 years, and they raised 6 kids on an English teacher's salary in a 3-bedroom home in Delhi, Ohio, which has instilled a sense of empathy and work ethic within all the kids that is passed down to the 21 grandkids. We're a family full of romanticizers that regularly shares songs, books, poetry, and plays that we like with one another. Anyways, with that information, you can probably get a pretty good idea of how our holiday celebrations go. The whole family, cousins, second cousins, all gather together in that same 3-bedroom home to share in the fun. As you're doing the math in your head, you're probably thinking, how do 50 plus people fit together in one 3-bedroom home to do all of that? Well, the answer would be a complete lack of personal space. But the night follows the same format year after year. We go to Christmas Eve Mass at St. Xavier High School, come back to the house, eat crock pots full of my grandpa's meatballs. The adults will throw back some of those Manhattans. Then we'll put on a Christmas concert full of songs that each person has tediously rehearsed for weeks. Then someone will read a poem about family by Maya Angelou or Louisa May Alcott that makes everybody cry. Then we'll all eat dinner, exchange some presents, and head home for Christmas Day festivities. This is a celebration that I've looked forward to pretty much every year of my life, but this year the celebration's gonna look a little different. Around May, my grandma broke her foot, and no one in our family has been able to care for her full time because no one wanted to get her sick during the height of a pandemic. So around May, my grandpa was struggling to care for her alone. So I was called around because of my background in elderly care. Yes, I worked at a monastery for sick Benedictine sisters all throughout high school, doing things I definitely was not certified to be doing. I don't really know why someone thought it was a good idea for a 16-year-old me to change Sister Joanne's bedpan and distribute medication, but I guess no one cared because it was extra help in a private facility. I've got to be going straight to heaven. Anyways, this meant that I knew most of the tricks of the trade in helping my grandma be comfortable, and especially comfortable around those seeing her in very, very vulnerable situations. My family knew my full-time care could not be sustained because I'm a student. So around June, my family made the very difficult decision to sell my grandparents' home and move them into an assisted living condo. Around August, their home was sold, and they were moved out. This was the only home my dad had ever known. The house where my sister and I were practically raised since both my parents worked full-time. The house where my grandparents came home from their honeymoon. This was a major loss to our family. I guess I'm worried about the change that's about to ensue, and worried that I hadn't fully appreciated the stability and the tradition that came with that home. I know that just because they're selling their house doesn't mean that everything's going to change. I think my worry with the house has more to do with the inevitable fading health of my grandparents. They've come to every musical, every play, every speech, and I'm worried about how I'm going to be fully content in my accomplishments if they're not physically there to celebrate them with me. I miss smelling the Manhattans. And every time we've gathered in that basement to sing, cry, pray, eat, or just spend time together. There's also the possibility that things won't be normal this year. Someone could get sick, or my grandparents could hate their house, or any number of things could happen. Not to be completely cynical, but the anxious side can get the best of me sometimes. I guess I just have to be a realist and romanticize simultaneously. My grandpa's simple recipe of 2 cans of GFS Swedish meatball sauce and a bag of frozen meatballs into the crock pot will, hopefully, survive any change the world throws at us.
Get along. As a baby, I would have reactions to whatever I happened to be eating. My baby pictures are basically all me looking like Bob the Tomato from VeggieTales. With burning red skin and swelling that was visible from a distance, that was quite the mess. I was diagnosed with food allergies shortly thereafter. Although I don't have as many as I did when I was little, there are still so many that haven't gone away. Milk, eggs, peanuts, all tree nuts, even mustard and garlic. People often just think that allergies just affect my diet, but they affect so much more than that. Socially, my allergies get in the way. Elementary school. I sit alone because even the smell of peanuts makes me have reactions. I sit alone in front of everyone with no one to talk to. People occasionally sit with me, but a lot of times it is forced by my teachers who feel bad. It feels like I have some kind of disease where I'm isolated all on my own. When you have that experience at a young age, it scars you. It leaves you fighting to fit in. Middle school is better, or at least I think it will be. But in 7th grade, I am diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. In other words, my pancreas decided that now was a good time to peace out on me. Little did I know this would add to my ongoing struggle with food. When you have T1D, you need to count carbohydrates in order to dose yourself with insulin for the food you're going to eat. So I would have to go to the nurse before lunch each day. By the time I'd get to lunch, my friend's table is already full, or I'd miss out on half the conversation. Isolated once again. Problems started again towards the beginning of high school. All my friends love to go out to eat, and that has always been a difficult thing for me. I love going just because I like spending time with them, but sometimes I'm not included. People figure, well, what's the point of inviting her if she can't eat? Alienated and disconnected yet again. Even when I do go out with people, my diet is so fucked up that I feel like they'll judge me for whatever I order. In reality, It's just so hard to find things to eat that won't kill me. College is when things really changed for me. I started exploring my diet more, which has been so much easier with more people going vegan. Getting vegan foods is so much safer, and honestly, I don't know the difference between plant-based dairy and other foods. Whole Foods has become my best friend, as they have so many great options for me. Vegan desserts slap. I just had a donut for the first time ever last summer, along with mac and cheese as well. I didn't even know those were options for me, so going out of my food comfort zone was one of the best things I've done for myself. Also, tofu? Underrated. My cousin Darcy also has extreme food allergies and is always somebody I can count on. When I had my first big reaction last fall, I called her and she talked me through it. So I'm in an Olive Garden with coworkers celebrating the end of our season, and garlic bread almost takes me out. My reaction, luckily, isn't me gasping for air with hives all over, but my stomach still feels like it's turned upside down, along with lots of itching and watering eyes. While embarrassing and terrifying, my coworkers are really understanding, and I really appreciate it. But still, my dark humor has me joking about how a breadstick and some pasta almost killed me, and I'm not sorry about it. So yeah, I have Valergies. Valergies, as one of my best friends, Isabelle, and my boyfriend Ben would refer to them as. While a pain in the ass at times, they are not my whole identity. Actually, in an attempt to expand my diet, I will hopefully be conquering eggs this December. In the meantime, my friends do an amazing job of making sure foods are Val-friendly and aggressively including me whenever we go out to eat. They never seem to mind my quirky eating habits that include cheeseless pizzas with lots of bacon and any kind of potato substance I can get my hands on. As long as no one brings the garlic bread, we're golden.
You know, food isn't always something that brings people together.
Sometimes it's what drives a wedge between people.
Thanksgiving and other big meals can be really hard.
And not just because of family drama.
Don't get me wrong, the food tastes great, but I'm just not hungry.
And it's not that I'm picky or anything, or that I've been snacking throughout the day. I'm just not hungry.
People deal with eating problems, some more extreme than others.
Sometimes food just causes a lot of tension.
Either in oneself or with one's family.
My family doesn't always understand my eating schedule.
I can get by on just a single meal a day.
It's not the healthiest thing, but some days I can't bring myself to do anymore.
Some days I wake up with extreme nausea.
Or work myself up so much I completely forget to eat.
Or just don't have a desire to eat.
Food isn't always a comfort.
Food is a source of stress or struggle. Body image, digestive issues, or any other reason. Sometimes that Thanksgiving turkey that Dad spent all day making invokes a panic attack rather than instills a sense of joy or togetherness. Sometimes it doesn't. Just like any recipe, it can be tricky to get the hang of.
On my mom's side of the family, our tradition is all about the bread. For as long as I can remember, people would talk about it, and some years they wouldn't get to making it, but especially recently it's been an every year sort of thing. Like, when we meet up for Thanksgiving, they'll come up to my mom and be like, "Oh, are you going to make the bread for Christmas?" So, I've never met my great-grandma. Thankfully, though, we have a sort of oral history about our family and how we came here. The way I've heard it, Anna and George, my great-grandparents, came from Austria. They decided, because of World War I, which Austria was not a great place to be living at that time, they moved to the States. I'm pretty sure they settled down near Toledo, Ohio. My mom's side of the family is from Lima, and that's where we go every Christmas, so... I remember hearing a lot of different stories about Anna. Like how when she came to the US, she couldn't speak English, only German. So she made friends with a local nun who would translate things for her. Oh, and in Europe, George and Anna's last name was Adamski, but it was changed to Adams when they moved to the US. But my great-grandma Anna just kept making her traditional Slovak recipes because that's what she knew how to cook, you know? She would make this stuffing for Thanksgiving and Christmas and all the other big holidays. It was this traditional Slovakian recipe, I guess. Oh, in Austria and Slovakia, which this is really good, you have to hear me out, they add apples to everything to make things sweeter. So our stuffing, for example, has the normal carrots and celery, but it also has these tiny little apple pieces that make it so good. It's always made from scratch, and some years we even bake the bread for the stuffing ourselves instead of using the store-bought kind. And there's babalki, which is sauerkraut, little sausage pieces, and these tiny little chunks of bread. But the most iconic of Anna's recipes has got to be her nut bread. I've never made it myself, but I've watched my mom make it about 100 times. She'll start with a dough. It's your normal yeasted dough, lots of eggs, lots of butter. I think it's considered an enriched dough or something like that. So she lets it rise under one of my Grandma Lizzie's, her mom's, old floral tea towels. And while the dough is rising, my mom will work on the filling. Melt a ton of butter in a pan, add brown sugar, cinnamon, things like that. And then she'll add a bunch of chopped walnuts. It's almost like a pecan pie with walnuts meets cinnamon roll situation, I guess. So by the time the filling's done, the dough is all pillowy and gorgeous, and my mom is ready to roll it out into this massive rectangle that practically takes up the entire counter. Before she can do that, though, my mom has to cover basically everything in flour since the dough is super sticky. Also, our counter has a ton of these little cracks in it that have been there longer than I have. We're all kind of bad about putting hot pans on counters or leaving cups and things on hot burners, so I'm guessing that's where they came from. But it's my kitchen counter, so I still love it, no matter how ugly it is. So my mom has rolled out the dough, and she's ready to spread the filling on. And it's almost like if you're making cinnamon rolls, how you have to, like, roll the dough onto itself, you know? So she rolls the dough into loaves, places the loaves into greased pans, and then brushes the top of the loaves with a beaten egg so it gets all golden brown and delicious in the oven. Also, I love her, but my mom's the kind of person who gets her motivation, like, really late at night. So she'll start making the dough at, like, 10 p.m. and finally finish baking at 2 in the morning or some other obscene time. At that point, there's about 1 million little bundles of bread, all individually wrapped in plastic for the cousins to take, and my mom is wearing one of Grandma Lizzie's old floral nightgowns. So, I've technically met my grandma, but she passed away when I was a baby, so I don't really remember her. My mom owns a lot of my grandma's old things. There's the tea towels, the nightgowns, along with a bunch of other clothes, the bread pans. I think Great-Grandma Anna's recipe is even written in Grandma Lizzie's handwriting, and it's written on the back of some flyer about tractors, which is the most Ohio thing I've ever seen. I guess it's her way of staying close to her mom. For the longest time, I thought my mom had been chosen to bake the bread every year, but as it turns out, my grandma never chose anybody to make the bread. My mom was just the one who missed it so much and wanted it so badly that she was willing to put in the work and make it herself. I feel like that says a lot about her as a person. My mom is one of 9 siblings, and every year she makes enough bread for all the cousins and family members to have at least a couple loaves to eat right then or freeze and heat up later. And she brings all this bread to our Henson Christmas every year, which Henson is my mom's maiden name, by the way. And every year the guests are a little bit different, but everyone manages to come together. Even my 2 aunts that live in the same neighborhood and always seem to be in some sort of feud. They're civil, but my Aunt Joyce will come up to my mom and be like, "Oh, you'll never believe what Valerie said to me the other day." But, like I said, they're all able to come together and break bread to share in Great-Grandma Anna's recipes. And for me, at least, It's a way of reconnecting with my roots and getting to know the great-grandma and grandma that I never met, but that my mom knew so well. Okay, Mom, what did you think?
It's so good. Maybe someday you'll actually make some. And we'll see if there's any left when you get home.
There better be. I love you, Mom.
I love you too. See you soon.
See you soon. Bye.
Favorite holiday desserts. Christmas crack.
Stained glass window cookies.
Snickerdoodles.
Peppermint bark.
Brownies.
Peppermint Oreo truffles.
Homemade fudge.
Buckeyes.
Sugar cookies.
My grandma's molasses cookies.
Strawberry pie.
Cinnamon rolls.
Apple pie.
Shortbread.
Candied pecans.
Salted honey pie. Stop! She's got the eggs. My neighbor cried as I stood with my hand hovering over the rim of a metal bowl, poised to crack the eggs into the brownie batter below. I didn't understand his shouts. Of course I had the eggs. I was helping Mom make brownies. I had dragged one of the dining room chairs over to stand on. I got the measuring cups out from the drawer and a big wooden spoon for maximum lickage. So why wouldn't I crack the eggs? That's the best part. I was supposed to break them. How often do you get told to break something as a kid? And I got treats for it. Hell yeah. I looked at my mom and she was just as confused as I was. It's okay. She's actually really good at it. This confused me more, but he seemed to accept it as a reasonable answer, so I got to crack the eggs and lick the bowl and the spoon. It was a damn good day. Fast forward 12 years, I'm 16 now, and I've decided I want to host Thanksgiving dinner all by myself. How hard could it be? You just cook a bunch and arrange things in a nice way, and bam! Oh, you're done. The morning of was maybe the most stressed I've ever been in my life. I wanted this to be the best Thanksgiving ever, so I planned everything I could so that nothing would go wrong, because if something did happen, that would be the end of me. I remembered all the Thanksgiving classics. I made sure that there were plenty of options for my plant-based and vegan aunts, and that there was loads of mac and cheese for me. But I completely forgot to account for how long things needed to cook, and that I'm not willing to remove whatever the hell giblets are from a turkey. After she saw how much I was panicking, my mom took over the turkey while I did everything else. I couldn't stop panicking. If there was even a moment of downtime, I'd felt like I'd done something wrong, that I was forgetting to chop onions or take the pie out of the oven. I did actually forget to pick out an outfit to change into after we were done cooking, so I had to rush to my closet and find something to wear. Even after my family had arrived and everything was going well, I couldn't stop thinking about how many things could go wrong. What if a candle got knocked over and set the tablecloth on fire? What if the turkey was too tough? What if no one liked the pie? What if Uncle Mark cut off a finger while covering the Thanksgiving turkey? What if we forgot to invite a cousin? Nothing disastrous happened. I actually got to enjoy myself. Talking to my family was nice, and everyone seemed to like the food. I tend to disasterize things. My mom talks about it as if I've always done it, but I don't think I have. I think now I'm finally starting to understand, stop, she's got the eggs. My neighbor only saw the worst possible outcome, but I didn't. I just wanted to crack some eggs. And my family only saw me working hard to have a good Thanksgiving, but I didn't. I just saw everything I did wrong. I think we remember the worst things that happened to us more than the good. I think it comes from back when we were hunters and gatherers and had to remember what the poison berries looked like. Our fear kept us safe. It was to protect us. But now it makes us focus on every horrible thing that could happen to others and ourselves. We assume the worst in people, whether we mean to or not, which means we assume the worst of ourselves. I know I do. I don't want to be afraid anymore. It's time to start cracking some eggs.
All right, everybody, I'll see you soon.
Can't wait. See you guys soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Let's talk about drinking because that's what my family likes to do. Weddings, drink. And when the groom drops the bride on the floor, you drink a little more. Oh, wait. He dropped her to that one song from Dirty Dancing. Shit. At that point, you chug. No one is having the time of their life. Drink. I fawn, I gush, I even get giddy, tingly, goosebump flesh over the thought of a full-bodied Cabernet. Pair it with an overpriced steak and I'm A-okay. Though Cincinnati legend Jeff Ruby resembles the values and morals of Rush Limbaugh, tell me, doesn't he also have similar qualities similar to Frank Sinatra? He's smooth, but Crossman, bam! You'll end up with broken fingers. I'd like to keep these sausage fingers. Drink. Before my grandpa Jim died, he took the entire family to Jeff Ruby's for dinner. As an alcoholic who could never give up his one love in life, whiskey, this steak dinner seemed to be his apology to the family for not being what we needed him to be. I remember how my mom would tell me about before Jim would go home from work, he would stop at the grocery store, order 2 petite steak fillets, and eat them raw on his drive home. I wondered if this Jeff Ruby steak would come out raw, special just for him. Drink. Jeff, you produce a mean piece of meat. Sorry to all you vegans and vegetarians out there who in no way can relate to the beauty that is meat and red wine and meat, a ballpark hot dog and beer. Ugh. As the late great Anthony Bourdain would say, you can't trust a vegetarian. Why is it assumed that people in the food industry are mentally unstable or struggle with addiction? I'm not alone when saying that anything like that is okay. Those thoughts are okay. I was in France the day Bourdain killed himself. We were in nearby cities. The only difference is one of us is still alive today. So my friend, a drink for you. Thanksgiving drink. You know your Aunt Gladys did a number on the turducken, a chicken stuffed into a duck that is then stuffed into a turkey where you can no longer distinguish which end of the bird you are eating from. Scary stuff. Then, your cousins twice removed from the West Side chime in and talk about how vaccines cause autism. I literally spat the turducken right out on the Thanksgiving table. Look closely and you'll find duck, stuffing, gravy, and my sanity all in one. Educate yourself. Drink. 4th of July. Drink because you know not everyone in America will ever truly be free. We seem to be looking at time in reverse. Build the wall. I dare you. Keep choosing sexual assaulters as Supreme Court justices. Cages. Keep in place the laws that are inherently racist. Justice still hasn't been served for Breonna Taylor. Drink, drink, drink. My sister, a serious redhead, staunch liberal, and Trader Joe's enthusiast, prefers the crisp tang of Pinot Grigio, which pairs quite nicely with Lady Gaga's album Joanne in a soothing bubble bath. Nothing makes me feel more special than when my phone pings and I get a picture of her 26-year-old self sprawled out in our porcelain tub with bubbles up to her chin. Are these technically tasteful nudes? I cannot decide. And that is when I, wait for it, drink. My brother, a southern dreaming, frat-loving, jort-wearing kind of a guy, well, yeah, I'm gonna pardon him because I don't really want to unpack all of that right now. John, I keg stand for you. Drink. For Mark, my crunchy granola, Jewish father, Duke grad, and bird enthusiast, brown liquor always does the trick. You were thinking about trekking down the Bourbon Trail and inviting me for some quality booze bonding? Or you think it would be a good idea to go wine tasting at 9 a.m. and try 28 different wines the day before we go great white shark diving? Great! Drink. Gin goes down easy, and it's made from these adorable little juniper berries, which make you feel even classier while lightly sipping. Vodka's infamous for keeping the supermodel skinny. Hey, Heidi. And whiskey keeps the heart warm on a cold night. Tequila. Oh, tequila. An alcohol that is no longer my friend and should not be yours. But for my mom, tequila's her go-to happy juice, party juice. Do you remember that TLC show with Honey Boo Boo and how she always had her go-go juice that would pump her up? Well, that go-go juice is tequila for Jean. Disclaimer, I do call my parents by their first names. For Jean, picture an OBGYN who takes her work very seriously. She served in the Peace Corps in Africa during the AIDS epidemic, and she's an all-around plant whisperer and Downton Abbey extraordinaire. Put a few margs in her, and you'll find her dancing on top of our piano to ABBA while she twirls around the chandelier. Oh my God, Jean. Are you one of those cool moms? Drink. Hanukkah, drink. Remember, I am Jewish. My people are the chosen people. They say on Passover, you're supposed to drink 4 cups of wine. Challenge accepted. Fun tidbit. You're actually also supposed to shtup your significant other on Passover. That means have sex. And after 50 years of marriage, some couples might need that liquid courage. Why doesn't that rule apply to breasts? The 4 cups part. Drink! Why is it the only way my family can hang out with each other is by drinking? I'm not alone when stating that any alcohol, mixed drink, or blended drink with a cute little umbrella is my family's vice. Shockingly, the only one who had a real problem was Jimpa. The rest of us can start and stop whenever we want to. But can we handle each other without it? So, my friends, a toast. Here's to the nights where you can hardly walk anymore. To the drunk tears as you reminisce when sharing a family memory with Mark. To the videos of me dancing on top of a bar in Israel with the soldiers. Oh my God, maybe I am my mother's daughter. Here's to change because, fuck, it's hard sometimes. To those who are born and to those who die. To the Anthony Bourdains of the world, I hope you find comfort. I drink to honor RBG, the uncertain holiday season, the most different, unexpected college experience I could have imagined, the most perfect chocolate chip cookie, the closest of friends, and lastly, to my company. My company. I'll drink to that.
Summer made me lose my glasses in the snow. Put her cold hands up my back when I said no. And she took the beer bottle from my hand and said, there's a church I know where we can raise some hell. Losers on a Christmas Eve. See out 1983. We were losers on a Christmas Eve.